have no words. I did not expect he just refused every single questions, even the very.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. The first time he started doing national TV back during the beginning of the pandemic,
Uh-huh.
how many years ago?
So,
And the first time I saw him standing at the podium at the White House and
mm,
start talking and start telling the things that he was telling, I told my wife right on the spot, I said, he's a liar.
great.
He's an absolute liar.
The
And
first feeling, right?
proves that, and that's true. He was. He is.
Yeah, yeah, right, right. The first
So
10
he might as well take
I'm
the Fifth Amendment, because if he doesn't, he's lying. So
yeah, but
that's my opinion of him.
yeah. So when Senator Hawley asked him, "What's the color of your tie? What's the color of the?" He just refused to answer that question. So
Yeah.
it seems like he just did not want to cooperate with the Congress at all. So I think they're gonna have another vote for him and see if he is qualified to
Yeah,
go.
vote to hold him in contempt. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's they said it's about 1 year in prison. Do you think it will happen? He gonna be put in the jail in 1 year?
No, no, I
No.
don't think any of that'll happen.
Well, okay, so yeah, we will
I just
talk
don't.
today.
I don't think they'll take it to that extent. But we'll
What?
see. I
Yeah,
wish
okay.
they would, but I
Yeah.
don't think they will.
Well, wow. So we'll see. Yeah. Yeah, let's start. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Cheyenne's Forum. Today is August 4th, and here comes my dear friend Tom. Tom, how are you? Welcome.
Thank you. I'm fine. How are you?
Very good. Thank you, Tom. We have a lots of topics today. Before we start, I'd like to introduce Tom to my audience. Tom worked in FBI for 30 years, and he worked as assistant director of FBI for 5 years, in charge in very, very important jobs. And he's retired now. And again, thank you, Tom, to come to my podcast. And a
Thank
good
you.
news, sure, a good news. Just about 10 minutes ago, Senate committee advanced Todd Blanchard's nomination of AG. So this is maybe good news. And then we were waiting for the vote, and I don't know when the vote will happen. And what your thought about this nominees? It will pass this time.
Yeah, the vote will be the whole Senate in probably the next 2 or 3 days. I don't think they set the date for it yet, but the whole Senate will vote. And normally the whole Senate goes along with what the committee does, and the committee advanced his nomination. So I think the two senators holding out
Mhm.
gave in and went ahead and voted for him. So
Right.
all of the Democrats on the committee voted no. All of the Republicans voted yes.
Mhm.
So his nomination is advanced.
Okay, great. So what do you think about Todd? Do you think he's a good candidate, a good nomination? Do you think he's a
Yeah, I
good
think he
for?
will be. I think so.
So can you tell us a little bit about Todd, about his background, about what he's
Well, he
doing?
has a lot of experience in prosecutions going back a long way.
Mhm.
And I think that he's also demonstrated that he's not afraid to take those prosecutions, to go ahead and push them. And I think what we've seen so far,
Mhm.
in the second term of Donald Trump, we saw his first attorney general be weak and not take these prosecutions, not push this hard enough. And then since then, it's been kind of the same thing. So I think that with Todd Blanche in there, we're going to see some action. We're going to see some people getting prosecuted.
Great, great. That's we are waiting for a long time. There are so many
That's
things.
why all the Democrats are against him, because they know he's going to be tough.
Right, right. Okay, so this is a good news, and thank you for just give us a little guarantee or sure that he probably can, yeah, get the job pretty soon. So we'll see that. And also a good news I consider is that Pennsylvania just plugged its voter rolls and the Democrats lost tens of thousands of the voters versus the Republic in 1 week. So now we are only 26,000 shorter than the Democrats, which is huge. So it's really possible we're going to turn Pennsylvania on red. So this is what we're looking for. Can you tell me that why Pennsylvania is so important to both Democrats or Republic?
Well, the number of electoral votes they have, when it comes 2028, the next presidential election, it's going to matter. It's going to matter who they have. It's also going to matter the members of the House that are Republican or Democrat, which is also interesting because that's still hanging. Fetterman keeps threatening his fellow Democrats the way Trump keeps threatening Iran. Threat, do it. Okay, Fetterman, you've discovered that your party it's not the old Democratic Party that you joined or that your parents might have been part of. Go back, Democratic administration after administration, not the same. And so, I don't know. I think Fetterman may be afraid that he's not going to be able to get reelected anyway. I don't know. But, I think many of us would like to see him turn Republican.
Right. But at least he's a different voice from Democrats, which is good. I think he got common sense, which American people looking to, and he is not afraid to speak out. So I respect this guy. He sometimes speaks something, some truth. So that's great. And also, there currently appear that to be signs of the split within the Democrats Party, just like you mentioned. Some party members have come forward to say that if the Democrats Party continue to lean towards the DSA, which is Democrats Socialism Alliance, they will leave the Democrats Party. It's not the Fetterman, some other people, like their strateger, and also some other members. According to the data, the DSA has only about 150,000 members, while the Democrats Party is approximately 40 to 45 million members. So the DSA representing just 0.3% of the Democrats Party. But why do they yield such significant influence? They're only 0.3%.
All right, because they're so loud. They're so loud, and their candidates are winning these primaries, which makes a big difference. So today we have the primary in Michigan with, the Syed running against the the Democrat that's more reasonable, let's say, the woman who's more moderate, and it sounds like he's going to win. We'll know tonight, but I think a big thing will be if he wins, he's going to be running against Mike Rogers, former congressman, and I might add a former partner of mine in the FBI back in the 70s. Mike will be the candidate running against him, and we'll see. We'll see who prevails in that race. That'll be a key race, just to know that.
Right. So we will know the result tonight, right?
Of the primary.
Okay.
Right.
Wow, this is big. And also, what happened in Wisconsin? There's a lady, her last name is Han. She's from South Korea. Han. And then
Hong, H-O-N-K.
Yeah.
I mean, H-O-N-G.
Hong, right? And she become the candidates. And and she's kind of she got some mental issue. I just don't understand how.
Well, that would be reasonable because the people voting for her have mental issues. So they're even.
Oh my.
Like a club, the mentally ill electing the mentally ill all across the country. All of these radical socialist Democrats, if you vote for them, I think maybe you're a little bit mentally ill.
Yeah. What is the other
It's
explanation?
more than just being stupid, which is true. They're very
Right.
stupid.
Right. So we'll see if she can got elected to a governor of Wisconsin. I just cannot imagine. So,
No.
what do you think about really happening in Democrats' party? It seems like they're not like as a unified as before. They are just split. And then, what do you think?
Well, because the people that want to win, and they think the answer here, especially for young people, is to vote socialist or communist or call it progressive or whatever.
Mhm,
And I think that, it's a shame. It's a shame that they're, frankly, that stupid. And if
mhm,
I look at this and I'm still astonished. How do people elect Mondami? How do they
yeah,
elect the mayor in Chicago or Karen, or Bass in Los Angeles? How do they get elected?
mhm,
Who are the people voting for them? I can understand stupid people running for office or
mhm,
crooked or communist, but then to have the majority of people in their party vote for them,
mhm.
it's a mystery to me.
Right. And Tom, you mentioned many times that FBI start to against the communist, right? That's how FBI start. So one FBI
Actually,
start,
that was how the Bureau, the predecessor of the FBI was the Bureau of Investigation.
right,
And I think that was in 1908, something like that. And they
right.
were formed to go after the rise of communism in the United States, to go after communists.
Mm-hmm,
That was their original foundation. Then, 20 years later, you have the gangster era in the United States,
mm-hmm.
John Dillinger and,
Baby
Machine
Bay.
Gun Kelly and all of these people. And they were robbing banks, killing police officers,
Mm-hmm,
um, escaping across state lines because that when they crossed state lines, they were home free. So you had all of that happening. And then at that point, the director of the Bureau of Investigation, J. Edgar Hoover, then sought congressional support to arm the FBI and have them work these criminal cases as
mm-hmm,
well as security cases, and then to arm them. And that's when the FBI received authority to carry weapons, to go through all kinds of firearms training, to
mm-hmm,
match up against the gangsters that were robbing banks. And, that was the beginning of the FBI becoming heavily involved in crime investigations, fighting crime.
right.
And so then that expanded from there to the FBI we knew later, back when I was in the FBI, go
Mm-hmm,
after organized crime, go after criminals, go after financial crime, but also have half the FBI or a third of the FBI agents still working national security, working against communists and socialists and
mm-hmm,
spies and that kind of thing, espionage cases. So that's when the FBI really became two FBIs back in the 20s or 30s.
mm-hmm,
Uh, and then during the time of the first Trump administration is when we had extremely bad FBI directors like James Comey during the Obama administration, and then, followed by his successor,
mm-hmm,
Christopher Wray. And, in my opinion, if they thoroughly investigate both of those directors, they should go to prison. That's my opinion. They
mm-hmm,
both did so much damage to the FBI during the
mm-hmm,
time of Obama's presidency, increasing it during Biden's presidency.
mm-hmm,
And, what they've done is tragic. And now Kash Patel and a more conservative, obviously, Donald Trump administration is trying to restore the FBI being, the original
mm-hmm.
agency to go against not just spies, not just financial crime, but also violent crime, organized crime. So up until the time when I retired in 2008, and by the way, that's mandatory retirement in the FBI. When you turn 57 years old, that's it. That month, you're forced to retire. So for me, that was November '08.
Mhm.
And at that time, our organized crime program, which I ran for 5 years, had expanded to be worldwide through the FBI offices outside the United States, 80 offices in other countries.
Mhm.
And then we see Comey and Ray and Biden, Obama
Mhm.
try to really, really hurt the FBI. And they did. They hurt
Mhm.
it. So we
Mhm.
had all of this Russiagate investigation, calling Trump a traitor,
Mhm.
all of that, which was all a lie. It was all made up. And so now we gradually see Kash Patel, and if we have a strong attorney general, a good attorney general, you'll
Mhm.
see more and more prosecutions of people that should not be getting away with what they get away with. And
Mhm.
then that and returning the FBI, arresting criminals around the world
Mhm.
with cooperation from our partners around the world, and enforcing these laws, making recommendations for prosecution that then the Department of Justice follows up and prosecutes.
Right. Well, so that's what a history, and it's good for you that you enjoy the golden year of the FBI. So when the bad thing happened in FBI, you already retired, right? Most likely.
Yeah, my closest friends and I from the Bureau in those days, just, when that deterioration happened under James Comey and
Mhm.
Christopher Wray during the Obama administration, later the Biden administration, when that was happening, we were just astounded that the country would allow the number one law enforcement agency in the world, not just the United States, the entire world, with followers from other countries throughout the world, with respect from other countries, including China and Russia and others, and to watch them undo that
Mhm.
in a few short years just was really something that astounded us, and to us was part of the reason for the mandatory retirement, the FBI,
Mhm.
so that if the administration or a new director or a new Department of Justice wanted to change the direction of the FBI,
Mhm.
the guys like me would be gone.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
we would no longer be there to stand up against it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, Tom, an interesting question because you have such experience deal with the different people all over the world, and this is like a working cooperation. So you're gonna learn how these people work, what's their concept, what's their mindset. So, what's the difference do you see between people from Russia and people in China when you work with them? And also, if you have experience work for people from Middle East, like Iran, Iraq, what are the difference or personality, or the work habits, or yeah, tell me about that. That I think it must be
Well,
very.
it depends on the system of government they have.
Mhm.
So, with the Russians, uh, for example, the U.S. and Russia became allies during World War II.
Mhm.
So Stalin and FDR, Roosevelt, were on
Mhm.
the same team
Mhm.
fighting the Nazis.
Right.
So we were supplying weapons and airplanes and other equipment to the Russians because they were on our side.
Right.
And then I think part of what happened was that the Roosevelt administration got completely uh, overrun by actual communists were in that administration. And so there was no real fight against Stalin because it was obvious during the meetings that they were having in the last year or two before the end of World War II that Stalin was going to take over Eastern Europe and as
Mhm.
much of the world as he could take over with
Right.
communism.
Right.
And that's what happened. And we kind of said, well, we're teammates, right? And as long as he's on our side helping defeat Hitler, that's okay. And
Mhm.
then once the outcome of World War II was decided, in large part by what the Russians did. We like to take credit for winning World War II.
Mhm.
I think in a way the Russians had more to do with it than we did.
Mhm.
Uh, with them going across Europe and the territories that Nazi regime conquered and go against them, make it all the way to Berlin.
Mhm.
And then on our side, we kind of gave it away. We could see what they were going to do. They were going to take over Eastern Europe, that part of the world, and they did.
Yeah, actually,
When
we did
World War
not.
II ended, they pretty much took over
Right.
the Eastern Bloc countries,
Mm-hmm.
referred to later as the Warsaw Pact.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we kind of allowed that to happen
Yeah.
because during the 30s and the 40s, well, they were on our side fighting Hitler.
Right.
Well, that's great. They
Mm-hmm.
weren't on our side. Starting in 1945, they weren't on our side anymore. They were on their side, and we kind of allowed that to go.
Right. Right. So when you work with the people from Soviet Union or from Russia, what's their characters? How they work with you if you have the working relationship?
Well, they can work very well. You just have to be careful of, if they're violating the procedures that would make a case not prosecutable in the U.S. So in other words, we were helping them, and in a lot of cases, during that time, in during the 1990s, 2000s, during that time, they were basically, and like China was, they were trying to steal our secrets and do all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And we more or less allowed it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So by 1940, they had spies in our effort to get a nuclear bomb.
Mm-hmm.
So they were getting all our secrets on how to make a nuclear bomb. And
Mm-hmm.
shortly after we had ours manufactured, suddenly, mysteriously, they had theirs.
Mm-hmm.
China, the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the Manhattan Project had been infiltrated by Russian spies and
Right.
Chinese spies.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were able to duplicate the nuclear weapons that we were making very quickly in 1949.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what happened there, is that, by the time we realized that Russia, more so than China at the time, had nuclear weapons comparable to ours.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happened is, because they were in a position to annihilate us, the United States,
Mm-hmm.
we were in a position to annihilate them. And then both governments more or less gave into a policy called mutually assured destruction. So it meant that if one country attacked the other would respond, and both countries would be eliminated,
Yeah,
would be
right.
destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody kind of realized, okay, we won't attack you, don't attack us. And we kind of went with that policy. And later, China, also spying us, duplicated
Mm-hmm.
most of our efforts
Mm-hmm.
until they got a bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's interesting is initially, Mao was an ally of the United States also during World War II to help get the Japanese out of China.
Mao
And the
Zedong.
U.S., Mao Zedong in China, and the U.S. was talking to him.
Mm-hmm.
And he had, a lot of people don't know, Mao was invited to come visit the United States by the U.S. government,
When?
tour the United States, be like an ally. And
Oh.
then what happened is that advisors to Roosevelt said, "Oh my, he's more of a communist than the communist we have. He's dangerous. Don't do it."
Ah,
And so
so
the invitation was canceled after Mao had announced he was coming. It was canceled.
oh,
And Mao was totally humiliated. And that's when he became an enemy rather than an ally, because we humiliated him.
well, this is my first time to heard that part of the history. So
Yeah.
when is that? Is 1940s?
In the late 40s.
Okay, but at that time, America's ally was
actually late 40s, early 50s. Yeah,
early
early
50s.
50s.
Okay, but at that time, Americans still have a very strong relationship with Taiwan, with this Kuomintang government. So they try to have a good relationship with both, right? Communist Party in
Right.
China and Kuomintang in China. Well, that's very interesting. That's very, very interesting. Okay, so when you deal with them, so the Russian people and Chinese people, they are trying to steal the technology from Americans. It's the same thing. Are they behave the same? They're all like very carefully steal it, or they're just brutally steal that, or they just, yeah, how when they work, are they different? Are they just pretty much the same?
Pretty close to the same. If you
Okay.
look, the Russians, uh, the Soviet Union in those days, before
Right.
the Soviet Union dissolved in 1991,
Mm-hmm.
had created their Gulag system,
Mm-hmm.
their concentration camps for their own dissidents in Siberia, that type of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
China similarly, started prosecuting and persecuting the Uyghurs in Western China to
Right.
this day. They
Right.
still they still basically have them in what amounts to like a giant prison camp. So in
Right.
that sense, both countries were persecuting many people in their own populations.
Right. Right.
And you know, we more
Well,
or less allowed it or turned our back on it.
right. Thank you, Tom, for sharing the story. And then it seems like that because China and Russia has a very, very different culture, totally different culture, but they behave the same under Soviet Union and under Chinese Communist Party control. So that means maybe ideology plays a huge role than culture to affect the behavior of the people under their.
Well, you have to go back and look at events in both countries' history to
Mhm,
see what their culture really is. What
mhm,
do they really do?
mhm,
And you look at things like Ivan the Terrible, the Tsar a couple hundred years ago.
mhm.
He commissioned an architect to design what is now it's on the Kremlin Square or whatever, the Red Square,
Right.
the trying to think of what to call it, but it's like a cathedral or a
Right.
monument or whatever at that
Uh-huh.
time.
Mhm.
So anyway, that architect, St. Basil's in Red Square, the architect that designed that was considered the most brilliant architect in the Russian government,
Yeah.
Russian country.
Mhm.
So Ivan the Terrible invited him to the Kremlin to honor him, to
Oh.
reward him for
Mhm,
designing something that fantastic.
mhm.
What he did at the Kremlin was then poke his eyes out, blinded the architect. That way he could never duplicate it. He could never do it again and
Well,
make a better monument or a better cathedral for somebody else or a different country in Europe or any of that. So that's kind of so he went from being Ivan the not so nice to Ivan the terrible because of stuff like that. And that's kind of culturally, you know, that's what
oh,
a lot of what they do.
wow, what a story. Wow, that's very interesting. That's very, how many times you've been in Russia? Have you been in Russia before?
Maybe five or six,
Do you
seven,
like
something like that.
do you
Yeah.
like the country? Do you think it's beautiful or
Yeah,
is
I
it
like the
well?
country and the people. The
Uh-huh.
people are generally nice,
Uh-huh.
um, as in China.
Uh-huh.
But yes, and for most part, the government is much more moderate now than it used to be.
Right, right, right.
Really since starting with Gorbachev and when the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, the
Mm-hmm.
new Russian Federation became much more um, civilized. I'll put it that way.
Right. That's a good word.
But yeah,
Yeah.
so we were dealing with that, that they were better to deal with.
Right.
But they
Yeah.
were still spying on us and doing all of that, and we were spying on them. So you have a lot of
Mm.
mutual efforts against each other.
Right, right. So what do you
Kind of
think?
the same thing. I was dealing with the Chinese. We were trying to pursue cases when China, um, when we complained to the Chinese because they were stealing our intellectual property,
Mhm.
they were stealing our, military stuff and computer stuff, all of that kind of information back when I was running international operations. And then right before that, for 5 years, I ran the FBI's worldwide organized crime program. So I went to many, many meetings in China complaining that you're stealing our technology. We want cooperation to help us prevent that from happening. China's answer was, no, we're not. We're not doing anything bad.
Don't want to
Then what
admit.
happened later, what happened interestingly, this kind of goes into 9/11. Prior to 9/11, there was over 300,000 Chinese students
Mhm.
on student visas in the United States.
Right.
There still is now.
Mhm.
But at the time, prior to 9/11, a student going to MIT or some of the technical schools, the top schools in the US, if they got degrees in that kind of technology, they could stay in the US
Mhm.
for several years to look for a job, and they were still under their student visas.
Mhm.
So they were in no hurry, because especially if you're a student in a program like that, it's very intense. So when final exams come, you don't have time to go out and interview for jobs. You're studying to pass those exams.
Mhm.
So later then, after you graduate and you have your degree, the US would allow you to stay several years more to look for jobs in the
Right.
US, hopefully.
Mhm.
Now, at the time, the major technical companies in the US, like Intel, Apple, some of
Mhm.
the other ones, chip companies, they would hire these students later in the next couple of years. They would stay in the United States. And again, China was, excuse me, China was trying to steal our technology that they were helping develop.
Mhm.
So I would meet with the Chinese and say, you've got to help us stop that. This isn't right. Your students or your professors stealing our technology. Oh, we're not doing that. That's no problem.
Mhm.
Well, then after 9/11, when those students couldn't stay in the US,
Mhm.
they went back to China. So then the companies like Intel, all our high-tech companies established training and research centers in China.
China, right.
And so these students then could go home and
Mhm.
work in one of those centers in China.
Mhm.
And then they would be beyond our reach. Well, then what happened is organized crime groups and others were stealing the technology that they developed in China. So I'd go for meetings and meet with the ministers in Beijing, and they would say, "You got to help us. You got to help us. Our technology is being stolen, and a lot of it's taken back to the United States." And so I'm kind of laughing at them, going, "It was okay when you were stealing our technology. Now you're losing your technology, and you want us to help." So what
Mhm.
ended up happening is we kind of agreed and
Mhm.
helped each other. So we
Mhm.
started helping Chinese, they started helping us,
Mhm.
and together we prevented a lot more of that theft by partnership.
Mhm.
And so, that was kind of the relationship. So on many cases with the Chinese, we were able to work very closely with them,
Mhm.
especially as it related to organized crime.
Mhm.
And they were very, very cooperative. And we
Mhm.
had many successful cases with them during the time when I was still in the FBI.
Mhm.
Russia, same thing.
Mhm.
Russia started being cooperative because of the Russian organized crime that was
Mhm.
spreading in the United States and throughout Europe.
Mhm.
And then they became more cooperative with us. So we were working more closely with Russian law
Mhm.
enforcement and intelligence services and
Mhm.
Chinese law enforcement and intelligence services. So it was a
Mhm.
very interesting time to establish those partnerships.
Oh, very, very interesting. Very interesting. You need to put into the history and take a look, and not single case, but the history of the cooperation between these two or three countries. And then yes, I know that in China, the organized we call the ban is really hard to survive because of the Communist Party. They have very powerful authority in China. Not like here. Here you can have maybe some kind of ban, but in China, no, not at all. They're gonna kill them at the beginning. So it's really different than US. Yeah, so talk
Well,
about
it's like any diplomacy. You try to find a common ground that both sides can agree on.
right, right.
And so when they were a victim of intellectual property theft, like we had been a victim, then
Yeah,
suddenly
they
we start
understand.
cooperating.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thank you. And then about Fauci hearing, we just touched the topic a little bit, but he invoked the Fifth Amendment 111 times to refuse to answer any questions. And Robert Kennedy Jr. actually stated about 2 days ago that this is a by biology weapon. So this is a very big, big, big issue. This is a weapon. It's not like a virus. The virus is a weapon. So my question is, why did Fusi actually provide such technology to Chinese military, and to go such length to cover it up? He just tried to cover it up. And what exactly his
Well, that's the whole point of that is, and the big issue here is more than just the how many times he took the Fifth Amendment. The real issue is, did the pardon he got from Biden basically exempt him from any prosecutions of all this stuff that he did during that time under the Biden administration, even before Biden administration, the cooperation that he had with China,
right.
the funding of the Wuhan lab program,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
basically, can he be prosecuted? He was given a pardon. Can he
Mm-hmm.
be prosecuted anyway? Can they prove that Biden was, I guess, not knowledgeable of what he was doing,
Mm-hmm.
or his staff used the auto pen to give
Mm-hmm.
many people pardons that Biden was oblivious to? That
Mm-hmm.
Biden, in his mental condition, didn't really know what was
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah. Yeah. And I believe you saw the whole hearing, the most part of the hearings, nearly 3 hours. And
Yeah.
what's your feeling about this hearing, or what's your opinion of this matter, the attitude, the behavior of Fosi and the whole thing? What do you?
Well, I think the only way to find out in the long run is to attempt to prosecute him for what he had done, the gain of function research that he helped fund at
Mhm.
Wuhan lab, and the
Mhm.
cover up of what was happening there, and so much damage that he did to our economy and to many, many states, many people,
Right.
that the only way to really prove one way or the other if the Biden pardons are real is
Mhm.
to prosecute him and test it, and then
Mhm.
let him say, he can't, his attorneys, oh, you can't prosecute me, I've got a pardon. Well,
Mhm.
let's see if it stands up. And I think it would have to go to the Supreme Court to see how legitimate it is.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And also, there are three states, include Florida, have already started to file a lawsuit against Fosi. They're gonna do at state level. So, how do you think this situation will unfold? It will
I think
work.
ultimately he'll
Uh-huh.
be prosecuted by one or more of the states,
Right.
because the Biden is not legally in a position, whether he knew it or not, he's not in a
Yeah.
position to pardon anybody from state crimes.
Right.
So therefore, the crimes that Fauci committed that were state violations, those
Right.
states can prosecute.
Right. Right. So
And
what?
I think you have more and more states now that will be willing to do it, like
Mhm.
Florida.
Right. Exactly. Florida is the first one said that we're going to do something about this guy. We will
Right.
let this go. And then they said they're going to have an empty plan to flew to Washington D.C. and then we will bring every single the case to the Florida and see what we can do with him. So we'll see, and then hopefully, just like you said, more and more people, more and more states will join that, join Florida to do something. So when the states start to file a lawsuit against him, what could happen to Fauci? He has to fly to the state to go to the state court to do something. What's going to happen after the state started?
Well, probably that will happen. The states will have to present this information to grand juries in their state and
Mm-hmm.
get him indicted. And
Mm-hmm.
then have extradition warrants issued to bring him to that state
Mhm.
to face prosecution. And I
Okay.
think more and more
Uh-huh.
there's an appetite nationwide to do
Uh-huh.
that. He's not the revered saint that he used to be.
Uh-huh.
People now see what it was. Plus, some of the other facts that a lot of public don't know. He was the highest paid individual in the federal government.
Yep.
Now, what a lot of people don't understand the federal pay system.
Mhm.
So somebody like me joins the FBI, and then we move up through the different classifications. During the 30 years I was in, I end up, my last 11 years, a member of the senior executive service. So
Mhm.
that's the highest paid category for most federal government employees at the
Right.
very highest level. It's the same. So I was making the same pay level as a Supreme Court justice or, a senator or people like that.
Right.
But in the government, certain jobs are exempt from that. And
Mhm.
especially if you're a medical doctor. So
Right.
if you're at the Veterans Administration, let's say, and you're going to hire an anesthesiologist to
Mhm.
work in your Manhattan VA office,
Mhm.
then they go by, well, what does an anesthesiologist in Manhattan normally make? And they'd say, well, normally about 500,000 a year. Okay, we'll pay this doctor that.
Ah, I see.
So they would get hired at that level
Uh-huh.
and get all of the protections of being a federal government doctor at that level. So
Mhm.
Fauci, based on the number of decades that he worked in the federal government, his
Mhm.
pay level was something like close to 500,000 a year.
Right. $500,000
So, you
almost.
know, well, the average doctor working for the federal government would be making what everybody else at a high level would make, 180,000, let's say, or 200,000.
Right.
So Fauci, not only was he making that amount of money, then on top of that, something you're not allowed to do normally, if you're a normal federal government, is you can't get bonuses or pay or any other uh, money from another source.
Yeah, you can.
So your government payroll, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
No other. Here you've got Fauci getting bonuses from other companies and other. So he was making all this extra money on top of his salary. Then when they give him his pension is, astronomical. It still allows him to take these bonuses.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's completely terrible, what he was allowed, how much money he was allowed to make
Right.
based on that, based on the bonuses and all of that.
Right.
And I think much of that has not come to the public attention yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe it's time the public knows the rest of the story with him, that
Right.
he's not the saint that everybody thinks he's the saint.
No, he's not. Absolutely no. And also, I just feel weird because when you are a federal worker, federal employee, you have to report your financial situation every year or every 2 years, right? So if
Yeah,
they
depends
see
on your grade, depend on your grade level, especially if you're senior executive service. That yes, you
you need
submit
to,
all sources of all income to
right.
you and your family.
Right. So he works at an NIH, HHS, of course. So HHS will know that he's wealthy and he has some other income resource, which is not allowed. So why they do not do
Well, I
nothing?
think technically, for him in the medical position that he had was allowed. Nobody disputed that he could make those bonuses or that these, other countries could, I mean, other companies could give him money. But he
Right.
took advantage of that, took advantage that he was in a very elite position.
He's very greedy person. Very,
I
very.
said from day one, the first time I saw him publicly speak from the White House podium, I
Mhm.
told my wife that day he's a crook.
Yeah.
I said, I'm looking at this guy.
Hmm.
When the truth comes out about him, he should be in
Hmm.
jail.
Yeah.
And
I
now, all these years later,
uh-huh.
6, 7, 8 years later,
Right.
we're hearing these stories that he should.
Yeah. Yeah, he
But
should.
nobody, he was the mainstream media and movie stars and actresses We're giving him all kinds of accolades, what a great guy he is, and all of that. And he became untouchable
Yep.
especially during Democratic administrations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So basically, I do believe this is a bad person, a bad person. So we'll see what we can do, and see eyes on Florida. And I think Florida can do something about him, which everybody wish that he got his punishment on what he's doing to the country and to people. And also, recently, the Spain border has been just out of control. You see the videos, and I think more than 60,000 people flooding into Spain in a short period of time. And most of these people are men of military age, which we see the same situation happened during the Biden administration. So is this whole thing is an invasion? Do you believe it? Do you think it's a right description? It is not refugees. They are inventing some country.
Well, we've been watching this happen for what, 10 or 15 years in Europe. Go
Mm-hmm.
back to Angela Merkel when she was in charge of Germany, letting in thousands of refugees or illegal immigrants pour into Germany, pour
Right.
into some of these other
Right.
countries in Europe. Sweden, for example,
Mm-hmm.
ended up making a no-go sign where these Muslims could congregate in their own neighborhood, basically, and the police wouldn't go in.
Right.
So that expanded it there. We see the trouble being caused in other countries. We see what's happening in England,
Mm-hmm.
where they've almost completely taken over.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a tragedy that's happened now. If you look at the map of Europe and you see where this island is that these people are pouring into right now, that
Cool.
island is actually attached to Morocco.
Right.
So they're not pouring into Europe property. They're going into this island, which still might make it hard to go from there
Mm-hmm.
to Europe itself, except if the head of the Spanish government says, come on over, like the U.S. government said, our illegal immigrants that came in.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's been undoing law and order in Europe now for 10 or 15 years.
Yeah. And
they don't seem to be in a big hurry. Just a couple of the leaders in Europe will stop it from, refugees coming into their country, like Viktor Orban in Hungary, got reelected several times. Now he just lost his most recent, but the guy that did win is more conservative than him. So, so Hungary is going to stay a safe country that way. And Giorgia Meloni in Italy is, more on that conservative side as well. So a lot of these governments in Europe are realizing the mistake that they have made allowing all these immigrants to pour in. So we'll see what they do about it. We'll see if they deport them or what they do.
Right. You're right, Tom. The city that the people get in is not it's pretty close to Morocco. It's just
Yeah, it's right, just off the north side of Morocco.
Right. And one of the reporters asking for this so-called refugees, why you're here and where you're going to stay. You're going to stay in this island or where you're going to go? And they said, no. We're going to go to France. We're going to go to Germany. We're going to go to some different country. We will not stay here. So this is so do you think the whole situation, just like you described, so has been happening 10, 15 years? Is there a conquest of civilizations behind the whole mass immigration thing?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, they hate Western civilization. They're going into these countries, including ours, not trying to assimilate into the Western culture.
They're not.
Whatever of these countries they enter, they want that country to assimilate to theirs, to establish Sharia law, to follow their teachings and their philosophy, their version of Islam, not the other way around.
Yeah. Yeah. So what should we do about it? We just allow this happen in front of eyes, or we just need to stop it?
Not much we can do when that's happening in Europe. It's been happening. So we're not going to be able to stop it unless the Europeans want to stop it. So I think what eventually is going to happen is the EU itself is going to collapse, just like NATO is going to collapse. So
Mm-hmm.
these institutions basically are not going to outlast
Mm-hmm.
the Muslims that are coming in and taking over. And
Right.
now we look at our country and we say, well, how can they be so stupid to allow that? Well, how can we be so stupid to elect Mondami in New York,
Right.
or some of the other Karen Bass in Los Angeles, or some of the other idiots that have gotten elected?
The mayor of Seattle, she's another
Seattle,
beauty.
we're in no position
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know
And also,
criticize.
exactly. And also the is some people said that President Trump is playing the game of cat and mouse with Iran. Do you think so?
I'm sorry, playing what game?
The cat and mouse game.
Oh,
Just like announce then and then quit, announce and then quit. So what's the logic or thinking behind this?
I don't know.
Seems
I'm
like
I'm on the more conservative side,
mm-hmm,
and I'm at a point where I disagree with Trump doing that.
mm-hmm,
If you're gonna, one
right,
thing I learned many, many years ago in law enforcement,
mm-hmm,
don't bluff.
mm-hmm,
Don't say, it's gonna be a big attack, and if you keep doing this, we're gonna do such and such. And then who knows? Somebody says something in Iran, like, let's talk. And then Trump, like, okay, stop, no
mm-hmm,
attack, no anything, we're going to talk. And I
mm-hmm,
think that how many times do you need to be tricked to have, okay, we're going to have diplomacy, and then they break it over and over and over and over.
mm-hmm,
So is that the real story, that Trump is just such a peace lover that
mm-hmm,
that's why he's doing this?
mm-hmm,
Or the rumors that are saying, much of our arsenal has been deployed between
mm-hmm,
what we had given to Ukraine for so many years, and
mm-hmm,
now what we're spending, these giant air attacks, the missiles, the huge bombs that we're dropping on some of the nuclear sites and other sites, that we're running out of them, that we don't have the stockpile of bunker buster bombs or nuclear bombs or any of the other stuff that we're threatening with. And it's kind of empty threats on our part. We're going to launch the biggest campaign, and then the
mm-hmm.
slightest excuse, Trump calls it off. And so I'm suspicious.
Yeah, right. Yeah, me too.
And I'm a Trump supporter and think, he's doing a great job in general. I don't think so on this issue. I think the
Mm-hmm,
fact, either finish the job with Iran
mm-hmm,
or stop threatening. Either do it or don't do it. But
mm-hmm.
stop making idle threats that we're gonna do it and then we don't. Over and over and over. How many
Right.
times have we said tonight we're gonna launch this biggest attack ever and all of this, and then by evening, well, never mind, we're not gonna do it.
Yeah.
So
So
I think that uh, I don't know, my opinion, I think it's a mistake on Trump's part to keep calling it off. Either do it and get it over with and
mm-hmm,
eliminate the regime and say it's regime change. We're
mm-hmm,
doing this on behalf of the 90 million citizens of Iran
mm-hmm,
that have been living under this tyranny,
mm-hmm,
for all these years, 47 years. So
mm-hmm,
either free them,
mm-hmm,
get them to support a new government, a new
mm-hmm.
democracy, and get it over with.
Mm-hmm. So just have a clear cut,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Well, it's almost 1 hour. Okay, we're gonna continue to talk next week. There's a lots of questions, especially regarding the Fauci's hearing. It's actually, to me, it's raised more questions about more things. And on, I think another week we're gonna see a lot more information from the diaries It's 1,000
Yeah.
pages. Every day we see some new information. And thank you so much for sharing your time at FBI. You work with the international partners, so it helps us understand that how the people work together. Even you have different culture, you have different ideologies. Still, we have the room to cooperate with each other.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Tom. I'll translate into Chinese as soon as possible. And I will see you next week.
Thank you. See you next week.
Next week. Thank you so much.